I see.
In January of 2022, FTX was worth $32 billion. Its founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was regarded as one of the most charitable billionaires out there.
The guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world.
He was seen as a genius, revolutionizing the crypto industry. But not even a year later, there's nothing left, with most of the major figures in the company having now been arrested on charges of major fraud, after FTX was found to have lost billions of its customers' money. So what happened here? Well, there's so much out there on this topic, and so in this video, we're going to be going over the full story of what really happened here and what the future for Sam is. You see, Sam came from an incredibly privileged background. Both of his parents are Stanford law professors, and they gave him everything he needed to build a successful career. But instead of going into academia like his family, Sam was much more interested in finance. He graduated from MIT with a degree in physics in 2014. But even before this, Sam was interning at a trading firm. Soon after, he would join the Jane Street Capital, learning the ropes and getting to grips with the financial world.
Bro, I always thought it was odd. Chat, are these guys like sponsored? Is this like their like esports jersey or some shit? I think this is like it's like their arena, and they come in there with all their sponsors and shit, right? That's insane. Right, their uniform, that's crazy.
He would join the Jane Street Capital, learning the ropes and getting to grips with the financial world. Jane Street specialized in international money exchange and figuring out how to profit from these transfers. And these skills would become incredibly useful later on. But after a few years, Sam was just tired of organized finance. It was boring, it was corporate, there was no room for progression. Instead, his attention had now been captured by the exploding world of crypto, a completely new financial world where the frontiers were endless.
The price of Bitcoin went through $10,000 US for the very first time 24 hours ago. But sorry, that's old news, because overnight the price of Bitcoin went through $11,000 for the very first time. Yep, $1,000 it made overnight.
Which is why just 3 years after starting his career, Sam quit Jane Street and founded his own trading firm, Alameda Research. Sam owned 90% of this new company and used it to facilitate million-dollar crypto trades. One of the key ways he found major success was by exploiting differences in value between international markets, where Sam could make millions in profits. With one of his first schemes to buy Bitcoin from vendors in the US at lower prices, then sell it on to Japanese exchanges for much more. To do this, Sam had to jump through lots of hoops to make these trades happen, because at first he even needed people with dual Japanese-American dual nationality to queue up in person and send money between countries. Although Sam's experience at Jane Street had given him the tools to deal with these complexities, and this put him in a great position to take advantage of the new international crypto market. But Sam was also prepared to take a few shortcuts and bend the rules to get what he wanted. And that's why he chose the name Alameda Research to hide the company's true intentions, a fact that he would be forced to admit in an interview last year.
Especially in 2017, if you named your company like, we do cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, arbitrage, multinational stuff, no one's going to give you a bank account if that's your company name. But everyone wants to serve a research institute.
Using this willingness to play dirty and his knowledge of the crypto loopholes, Sam was able to give his new trading firm a head start, and it wouldn't take long for him to be making millions of dollars every single day. But instead of publicly indulging in luxury yachts and cars like other crypto millionaires, Sam put his money into a carefully designed PR campaign. In a series of publicized donations, Sam painted himself as the white knight of crypto, using his immense wealth to help others. Despite owning a fleet of luxury cars and living in the Bahamas, Sam would drive around in a Toyota Corolla. And this outward image and his company's crazy profits impressed investors, and soon everyone wanted a piece of Alameda. But Sam was dreaming even bigger. He wanted to make international trades and deals that weren't supported by the platforms of the time. So in 2019, Sam founded FTX, a cryptocurrency trading platform that offered features and more complicated products. His history at Jane Street was vital in setting up this sophisticated modern platform. It looked just like a conventional exchange platform, which attracted investors that were usually too risk-averse to get involved in the chaos of early crypto. And this approach fooled investors around the world, and soon they were all pouring money into FTX. Companies like SoftBank, BlackRock, and Secure Capital were among the investors, but even pension funds were getting involved. A large part of this money went towards the image of the company in an effort to attract new users and new investments.
There's coffee
Adverts
everywhere.
in the Super Bowl,
It's FTX.
pictures on the covers of Fortune and Vogue. Sam even bore the name of an NBA stadium in Miami, with Sam Bankman-Fried becoming the second biggest donor to the Democrats. And with all of this, FTX growth snowballed. More publicity stunts, more cash injections. The crypto markets were booming, allowing FTX to become one of the largest cryptocurrency trading platforms almost overnight. And at the top of this pyramid sat Sam Bankman-Fried, skimming the profits of the top of his companies and making billions in the process. Although there were some people that were starting to get nervous about FTX and what was really going on behind the scenes. Sam had appeared on countless podcasts professing his altruistic ideology and how he'd give 99% of his wealth away. Everyone was so enamored by his image that they failed to see past all of the glaring red flags, with one of these being the unusually close relationship between Sam and an employee at Alameda Research, Caroline L. Ellison had met Sam when they both worked at Jane Street Capital. At some point, the two sparked up a romance and went into business together. Their chaotic on-again, off-again relationship wasn't unusual at FTX and Alamanda. As sources say, this was just part of the company's culture. But what was even more concerning were Caroline's leaked tweets professing a love for amphetamine use, adding in things like Sam's habit of playing League of Legends during.
Wait, so what? Make you appreciate how dumb.
The tweets professing a love for amphetamine use, adding in things like Sam's habit of playing League of Legends during meetings, and you get a picture of the disorganized and childish company that they were running. So it shouldn't be any surprise that Ellison was eventually made CEO of Alameda Research in April of 2022. But there were also signs that something much more dangerous and criminal was playing out. In a now infamous interview, Sam Bankman-Fried describes his business plan in a way that sounded suspiciously similar to a Ponzi scheme. Now, a Ponzi scheme isn't anything new. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. The first step is to make up an investment opportunity that promises wild returns with little risk. It doesn't have to be real, it just needs to sound enticing. Then you create hype around the opportunity, putting in some money to start it off and get the ball rolling. And then once enough people fall for the scam, use their investments to pay the first investors. This process keeps going and going, with the owners of the scam constantly skimming profits off the top by misusing the investors' money. And Sam gave his business a very similar description. First, he made up a product. Sam says that it has no value, but he gives it a $20 million valuation out of thin air to entice investments.
X token has some market cap, right? It's probably not zero, but let's say it's, $20 million market cap.
Then he markets the box as an investment opportunity, trying to entice people into putting money into the box. Using his reputation in companies, the value of the box rises and rises based on his interest and this interest alone.
Right, so they pour another $300 million in the box, and you get a cycle, and then it goes to infinity, and then everyone makes money.
So Sam had literally described how he was scamming people in front of the world, and soon people were calling him out on it. CoffeeZilla in particular noticed this, and made a video about it which now has over 2 million views. But these dire warnings were drowned out by FTX's hype machine. Because despite the trouble brewing, Sam's crypto empire had grown into a massive billion-dollar enterprise. FTX was attracting new users every day and was turning into one of the largest exchanges in crypto, and public opinion of the company was
they were putting a lot of money into advertising.
Everyone in the crypto world saw FTX as strong and stable. This reputation came in handy when the value of the cryptocurrency market started to take a turn for the worst.
Chat, so what happened there? Chat, what happened on that day? That everything died for no reason? I remember that day. I remember it like it's yesterday.
Take a turn for the worst. The great crash in 2022 saw multiple crypto companies and firms plunge into bankruptcy.
Crypto obviously right now getting crushed.
Investors getting jolted by volatility rippling through the crypto world.
Tonight, a massive sell-off of cryptocurrency, erasing more than $200 billion from the entire market in a single day.
However, Sam, being the kind, generous, charitable billionaire that he is, stepped in to save the day, promising to bail out crypto failures like Voyager by contributing hundreds of millions to buy out their digital assets. And this was a genius move in lots of ways, because by taking care of struggling competitors, Sam was making his company seem stronger than it really was. On top of this, he helped prevent crypto prices plunging even further, which would have sunk him as well. Not to mention this all added to Sam's charitable billionaire status. However, during these hard times, FTX didn't really have enough capital to complete these deals. Recklessly splashing the cash to become crypto's savior wasn't really a good long-term strategy for FTX, and these risky investments would soon turn sour. And on top of these sour investments, Sam might be making tons of enemies along the way to his billions. The most dangerous and important of these, Changpeng Zhao, the founder of Binance. Now, Binance is the largest crypto exchange in the world, and was in fact a very early investor in FTX. But as the business took off, the relationship between the two men very much soured, leaving them as bitter rivals. And it was this feud that would ultimately become a key part of FTX's collapse. However, for a while, all was quiet for FTX. It seemed like they had weathered the crypto crash and were looking towards consolidating their position in the market. But in November, everything started to come crashing down. And one would come out of the next month would see Sam and his cronies in jail and billions of dollars vanishing into thin air. But before we continue, I want to tell you about our video sponsor Masterworks. You see, the FTX blowup was the final kick in the teeth during a year filled with record-breaking losses. Further pain on top of the $36 trillion in stocks and bonds that have dissipated into the ether.
Chat, isn't it technically can they like hide the money though somehow?
Inflation. And it's not just them. Stocks has shrunk from 60% to it's confirmed the massive changes underway. They're shooting, I know, weeks ago, and even just 100 frings on the which is why it's right between Alameda Reefs. You see, leaked documents from Alameda shone a light on the close relationship between Alameda Research and FTX. Everyone knew the companies worked in tandem, but nobody suspected how interlinked the two really were. And it turned out that lots of Alameda's assets were held in FTT, a crypto token created for and used on FTX. Now, this was incredibly dubious, as whilst FTT was worth around $25 at the time, it had still been created by FTX and its value was completely tied to FTX's worth as a company. And whilst this technically counted as an asset for the company, it was impossible to turn into real money in a very short time. If Alameda tried to liquidate their assets, the sheer amount of FTT released would lead to a plunge in demand and price, making the billions worthless. FTX and Alameda were meant to be separate companies, so people didn't have enough time to figure out how illegal this truly was. However, the floodgates had now been opened, and soon it was going to be all over for Bankman-Fried's crypto empire. As in the few days after this news came out, FTT dropped by over 10%, and Sam's longtime rival, Changpeng Zhao, saw his moment to strike, announcing on Twitter that he would be selling off billions of dollars worth of FTT. Ellison, having only been CEO for a few months, panicked.
Wait a minute. Oh, this fucking thing again. I can't believe my alarm. Wait a minute. So, wait, their biggest competitor had a lot of money in their own dog shit scam token? Wait a minute. Well, that's insane.
Selling off billions of dollars
why
worth
would they ever want that?
Ellison, having only been CEO for a few months, panicked and offered to buy it off of him to keep FTT stable.
Wait, that gives them so much leverage.
But it was too late. FTT's price plummeted upon the announcement,
they were angel
dropping
investors,
80%. Okay. And so just in a few short days, Sam, FTX and Alameda had lost billions. Their make-believe empire had gone up in smoke, and so immediately everyone rushed to withdraw whatever assets they had on the platform. But the thing is, FTX didn't have this money available, and so they would freeze withdrawals, and this is what's known as a liquidity crunch. FTX needed to find a way to pay these people their money and fast. Changpeng even sneakily offered to buy out the company after selling off all of his FTT coin. But he knew what he was doing. Sam was his longtime rival. He hated Sam. This was his way of destroying the empire that tried to destroy Binance. And it only got worse, because the very next day, federal agents in the US announced that they had been investigating FTX for some time over mishandled funds and massive fraud. So Changpeng and Binance pulled out of the deal and FTT's value fell even further. And over the next few weeks, things just got even worse and worse for Bankman-Fried when the scale and depth of his crimes came to light. In one of the largest cases of fraud ever recorded, Sam Bankman-Fried and his accomplices had created possibly the largest Ponzi scheme of all time. And here's why. You see, first, FTX would print new FTT tokens and lend them to Alameda Research. Alameda would then borrow money against these tokens as if they weren't just created out of thin air, giving the company more free money. And they repeated the same process over and over again, but it still wasn't enough. The money that they had borrowed before was a constant and growing.
Wait, but who's giving them money in exchange for that shit though?
Over and over again, but it still wasn't enough. The money that they had borrowed before was a constant and growing expense that Sam just couldn't keep up with. And so in a move that would bring down his empire, FTX would take money from his own customers' pockets, and to be precise, around $10 billion was reportedly stolen from the public, and move straight into Alameda's control, something that's completely against the law and FTX's policies. It was at this moment that Sam's rivalry with Changpeng Zhao came to a head, and in an incredibly stupid move, Bankman-Fried had let Changpeng own billions in FTT tokens as a result of their messy falling out. This essentially meant that their top competitor had a button that he could press at any time and cause a liquidity crunch at FTX. Changpeng had full control over FTX, and yet Sam Bankman-Fried was testifying against him. He was doing everything he could to sabotage Binance, and so when Changpeng found the perfect time, he pressed the button and FTX exploded. And in the wake of the crash, FTT fell to under $1, and both Alameda and FTX filed for bankruptcy. But this wouldn't protect them from the feds, who cracked down hard on Bankman-Fried's cartel. And as they prepared their arrest warrants, it somehow got even worse for FTX. In what appears to have been an inside job, hundreds of millions in crypto assets vanished from FTX's wallets. By now, FTX were $9 billion in the hole, with less than $1 billion that they could actually sell quickly. But it only got worse. Sam just couldn't stop making stupid mistakes. As leaked messages between him and a news reporter laid out all of his callous motives, he admitted that his charitable persona was fake, and that he virtue signaled all this woke nonsense, all to help his perception in the media. He would then leap on to a wild ramble on the horrors of regulation and how his rival was much, much worse. And then by early December, Sam was in cuffs, along with his co-conspirators, Caroline Elson and Gary Wang, who had both been integral parts of the scam.
I'm confused, why fuck regulators? I don't give. Wait, did he want to do fraud like out in the open for free?
But when police came, they both immediately pleaded guilty to try and save their own skins. They all turned their backs on Sam. Everyone was out for themselves, leaving Sam high and dry as the charges piled up against him. Fraud, money laundering. In total, Sam